Dr. Mark Hyman opens the discussion by emphasizing the difficulty in truly understanding how much our daily symptoms are linked to the food we consume. He expresses frustration that many people visit doctors worldwide and receive treatments for symptoms potentially triggered by diet without ever addressing the dietary root causes. The conventional medical approach, he explains, often manages symptoms rather than identifying whether food or lifestyle factors might be the underlying triggers. This leads to a situation where people live with undiagnosed or unrecognized food sensitivities or inflammations that manifest as various health complaints. He advocates for a foundational approach built on what he calls the 4 pillars of health: food, movement, sleep, and stress management. Dr. Hyman suggests starting with nutrition, cleaning up the diet as much as possible, and then reassessing one's health status. Frequently, once diet and lifestyle are optimized, many symptoms resolve, revealing they were downstream effects of chronic physiological stress and inflammation rather than independent illnesses. This basic yet profound approach challenges the traditional reactive nature of Western medicine and urges individuals to take ownership of their health by tuning into their body's feedback. Dr. Hyman expresses significant concern about the current state of medical education, especially regarding preventive care and nutrition. He notes that doctors, including those in training like his daughter, who is in medical school, receive minimal practical training on creating health rather than just managing disease. While physicians are well-versed in diagnosing and treating illness, their ability to advise patients proactively about nutrition, microbiome health, insulin resistance, or environmental toxins is minimal or practically non-existent. Because of this lack of training, when patients seek ways to optimize health rather than simply treat symptoms, many doctors are at a loss. They often interpret no symptoms and normal labs as signifying perfect health, overlooking subclinical or early-stage dysfunctions. Dr. Hyman highlights the urgent need to mandate nutrition education throughout the entire medical training pipeline to bridge this gap and equip physicians to become health creators, not just disease managers. The podcast delves deeply into why Dr. Hyman includes gluten and dairy elimination in his well-known 10-day detox program, despite some controversy within the medical community. He explains that the gluten found in today's wheat is fundamentally different from historic strains. Modern dwarf wheat, developed in the mid-20th century, contains significantly more and more inflammatory types of gluten proteins, contributing to rising celiac disease rates and widespread gluten sensitivity beyond overt celiac diagnoses. Similarly, dairy today is not what it was generations ago due to changes in cow breeding, feedlot farming, and prevalent hormones, resulting in dairy products containing the more inflammatory A1 casein protein. Modern dairy's effects have been linked in scientific literature to autoimmune diseases, type 1 diabetes, cancer risk, and chronic inflammation. Dr. Hyman highlights the high prevalence of symptoms such as congestion, eczema, acne, and allergies that often improve dramatically when dairy and gluten are removed, illustrating that these foods serve as major inflammatory triggers in many individuals. A crucial insight Dr. Hyman shares is the recognition that celiac disease represents only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to gluten-related disorders. Medical diagnostics focus on biopsy-proven intestinal damage to confirm celiac disease, leaving out a large gray zone of individuals who have varying degrees of gluten sensitivity or immune reactivity without full-blown celiac pathology. Approximately 1/3 of people have the gene for celiac disease, yet only about 1% develop classic symptoms, while an estimated 20% may have some form of gluten sensitivity. For these individuals, self-monitoring through elimination diets becomes critical. Dr. Hyman advocates listening to one's body, tracking symptoms such as energy, skin condition, digestion, and brain clarity when removing and reintroducing gluten to truly assess its impact. He critiques the medical profession's rigid stance that non-celiac individuals should not cut gluten, pointing out that gluten has no inherent health benefit and that determining personal tolerance requires individualized, mindful experimentation rather than blanket avoidance or acceptance. Dr. Hyman's innovative company, Function Health, represents his commitment to personalized, data-driven medicine. He explains that traditional lab testing through standard medical channels is limited, often detecting disease only when it has significantly progressed and missing many critical early warning signs. Function Health provides access to over 110 biomarkers, covering hormones, inflammation, autoimmunity, metabolic markers, toxins, and nutritional status, offering a detailed biological snapshot. By analyzing large datasets, such as Quest Diagnostics' millions of tests, Dr. Hyman and his team have highlighted that many commonly accepted normal lab values are, in reality, far from optimal. For example, insulin levels considered normal by labs are often too high for good metabolic function, increasing disease risk. The Function Health model empowers individuals to track their health longitudinally, take preventive measures early, and understand complex metabolic interplays, all to optimize health rather than merely react to disease. One startling discovery from Function Health's data is the high prevalence of latent autoimmune activity in tested individuals, around one-third showing autoimmune markers without diagnosed disease. Dr. Hyman explains that autoimmune disease is a continuum rather than a strict binary diagnosis. Many people live with low-level immune system dysregulation that affects health but has not yet crossed clinical thresholds. This realization emphasizes the need for root cause medicine, a core principle of functional medicine that digs deeper than symptom suppression. Autoimmunity often stems from triggers such as gut health disruption, leaky gut, gluten sensitivity, environmental toxins, infections, and lifestyle stressors. By identifying these triggers early through advanced biomarker testing and patient history, Dr. Hyman's approach aims to prevent disease progression by balancing the immune system and treating systemic inflammation, rather than relying solely on immunosuppressive drugs after illness manifests. As the discussion transitions to aging, Dr. Hyman highlights the importance of protein intake and resistance training in maintaining metabolic health and longevity. Contrary to some longevity narratives that advise limiting animal protein to suppress pathways like mTOR, a nutrient sensor linked to aging, Dr. Hyman underscores the necessity of stimulating mTOR periodically to preserve and build muscle mass. Muscle is paramount for metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, immune function, and mobility, influencing both quality and length of life. He explains that older adults face anabolic resistance, requiring higher quality protein, particularly rich in leucine, to effectively stimulate muscle synthesis. This is challenging for strict vegans without careful planning and supplementation. Combining resistance training, even simple band exercises or bodyweight movements, with adequate protein intake creates a powerful synergy to counteract muscle loss, sarcopenia, one of the leading causes of frailty, falls, disability, and premature death. Dr. Hyman shares his personal transformation after adopting resistance training in his late 50s, demonstrating the potential to not only halt, but reverse physical decline with proper strategy. Diving into longevity science, Dr. Hyman explains hormesis, the concept that moderate stressors trigger protective and regenerative biological pathways. These stressors include intermittent fasting, or time-restricted eating, exercise-induced muscle damage, cold and heat exposure, such as cold showers or sauna, and certain plant compounds found in whole foods. Such stresses activate autophagy, cellular recycling, heat shock proteins, mitochondrial biogenesis, and important longevity regulators like sirtuins. He provides practical insights like the benefits of cold plunges or saunas, and notes that many traditional populations unknowingly practice hormetic lifestyle patterns through environmental exposure and varied activity. Hormesis aligns with the evolutionary context humans adapted to, where challenges were normal and constant, contrasting today's overly sanitized, convenience-driven lifestyles that may blunt these critical biological responses. Dr. Hyman promotes applying hormetic strategies thoughtfully to induce resilience and delay aging processes. Adding another layer to the discussion on longevity, the podcast explores the fascinating relationship between humans and plant compounds. Dr. Hyman discusses the idea that humans have co-evolved with plants, borrowing their medicinal chemistries to regulate biology. Unlike many animals who produce their own vitamin C, humans rely on dietary intake, illustrating biological economizing through supplementation with external sources. Many plants contain phytonutrients, compounds like resveratrol, curcumin, and physatin that modulate gene expression and activate longevity pathways, including sirtuins and inflammation reduction. These compounds can also help clear senescent zombie cells that drive chronic inflammation and aging. Dr. Hyman cautions that while some may romanticize particular foods or substances like wine, the net effect depends on the full lifestyle context. Nonetheless, whole, minimally processed plant foods are powerful allies in aging well. Dr. Hyman pays particular attention to breakfast, calling it a critical window where diet choices shape the entire day's metabolic profile. Contrary to typical Western patterns filled with cereal, muffins, bagels, fruit juices, or pastries, often likened to dessert due to their high sugar content, he urges a rethinking toward meals centered around protein and healthy fats. Starting the day with sugar and refined grains precipitates a cascade of hormonal upheaval, including spikes in insulin, cortisol, and adrenaline, which promote fat storage, cravings, energy crashes, and eventually metabolic disease. He highlights research showing how even supposedly healthy oats, unless carefully combined with fat and fiber, provoke overeating and sugar cravings. By beginning with higher protein and fats such as eggs, avocado, nuts, or nutritious shakes, individuals can stabilize blood sugar and hunger signals. This fundamental change addresses the root cause of the metabolic crisis affecting much of the westernized world and empowers individuals to break cycles of overeating and insulin resistance. Reflecting on his travels to the so-called blue zones, regions where people regularly live to extreme ages in excellent health, Dr. Hyman describes meeting individuals whose vitality defies common expectations of aging. In these communities, aging is less about decline and more about sustained physical function, purpose, and social connection. He recounts encounters with active nonagenarians and centenarians who shepherd sheep up mountains or manage farms, living in tight-knit families where elders remain integrated and valued. These societies' lifestyles feature diets rich in whole, often heirloom and wild foods, consistent physical activity embedded in daily life, and strong social and familial bonds. Such environments nurture not only longevity, but vibrant living. Dr. Hyman contrasts this with the fragmented, processed food-driven, and socially isolating patterns typical in the West, reinforcing that aging well is a product of environment, community, nutrition, and movement, factors that can be cultivated irrespective of geography.